We're now going to transition to our second NSM talk. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Dana Pelz.
Needles, transfusions, doctors galore. When will it end? This hospital's a bore. Bring on the chemo, bring on the cells. They got nothing on me. I'm Dana Pelz. All right, that's a little cocky, I'd have to admit. But attitude is everything. You can't just quit. Fear is the enemy. Do not give in. Breathe in hope and positivity. That's how you win. One day you'll look back at these years of your life and know that gratitude brought joy during those times of strife. Soon your bones will be filled, and you'll have blood cells aplenty. Pay forward the kindness and compassion shown to you by so many. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. So be like Dory and just keep swimming. This is a poem I had found in one of my treatment journals while undergoing one of the craziest life detours, a bone marrow transplant. And while you may not see it now, kindness saved my life. But before I explain how kindness saved my life, I'll start at the beginning of my journey. I graduated from the University of Minnesota in December of 2013, a semester earlier than most of my classmates. I did this with high hopes of traveling, finding new adventures, and spending some time with my family, all before jumping into the real world working here at J&J. I packed up my apartment and went back home to Chicago to celebrate the holidays with my family. During that time, I had been feeling just a little under the weather, not quite myself. I didn't think too much of it, though, because in the weeks leading up to graduation, I had been extremely stressed and busy. Between studying for finals, traveling all over the US for job interviews, and also recovering from mono that I had in November, feeling exhausted seemed like expected. But just to make sure everything checked out, I decided I would see my GP as soon as I got home. The day after that appointment, I went to the gym. And when I got there, I got a phone call. It was one of the nurses from the local practice. She said, Dana, we have your labs back, and we're really concerned. All your blood counts are dangerously low. We're going to need you to immediately go check into the ER and see what's going on. Without thinking, my 21-year-old brain, invincible brain, just responded by saying, okay, well, I just got to the gym, and I feel fine, so can I go after I work out? She did not hesitate in responding that my condition, left untreated, could be fatal. With that, I was off to the hospital. The rest of that day continued on with a series of blood tests, my first overnight stay at the hospital, and an oncologist. I didn't fully comprehend it at the time, but my life was changing drastically before my eyes. December 26th, the day after Christmas, I went in for my first bone marrow biopsy. The doctors wanted to understand why my body wasn't creating blood cells like it should. They told me it was probably one of two things, either leukemia or some other bone marrow dysfunction. I was thrilled when I got the call that no, I didn't have leukemia, but rather a rare disease called aplastic anemia. I'd never heard of aplastic anemia, but I was elated to know that I didn't have cancer. Anything's better than cancer, right? It didn't take long for that elation to dissipate. I learned that aplastic anemia is a disease in which your marrow, often for unknown reasons, stops producing blood cells for your body. Your marrow produces 3 different types of cells. 1, platelets. These help with clotting. 2, red cells. They carry oxygen throughout your body. And 3, white cells, the infection-fighting cells. So for me, low platelets made me susceptible to bleeding easily and uncontrollably. My doctors feared that even the smallest of cuts could potentially become life-threatening. With low red counts, I was constantly tired and winded very easily. My days mostly consisted of naps, and even the smallest of tasks, like walking up the stairs, became extremely difficult. And finally, low white counts. That made me prone to infections and viruses. So something like a cold that's really no big deal to the average healthy human, like yourself, could lead me into a downward spiral. My heart, soul, and body ached. While all my friends were out living and enjoying their post-college life, I was out shuffling from doctor appointment to doctor appointment, just trying to figure out what would be next. I had a really hard time seeing past the fact that this was just not fair. That's where my journey began. To my dismay, I quickly learned that aplastic anemia was not that much better than having leukemia. The treatment could be fairly similar, and the recovery time could be anywhere from 6 months to several years. It was at that point I realized I wasn't going to be able to start my job as planned. I was devastated. I had worked so incredibly hard to land a job like this. I stacked my resume with experiences and jobs that would impress employers. I worked my butt off in school to get good grades. I thought I had made it past the hardest part of growing up. But in a blink of an eye, none of that mattered anymore. My life's path could not be any further from the direction of my intended plans. But in hindsight, I would discover that the path that I was on was exactly where I needed to be. Luckily for me, this amazing company and the wonderful people that work here did everything in their power to ensure that I would have a place to come back to when I recovered. They said, "Dana, you have the rest of your life to work. Work will be here when you're ready. Go get better. It's your #1 priority." This was the first act of kindness that saved my life. My diagnosis filled my world with a whole lot of unknowns and uncertainties. But J&J, they gave me peace of mind, knowing that I would have a place to come back to when I recovered. This disease would not be the end. They gave me something tangible to hold on to, and I needed that for my sanity to get through this. It was shortly thereafter that I decided to create a Facebook page. Dana's Journey, Aplastic Anemia Hell Back to Normal Kid Well. It would quickly become my way to decompress. It was an outlet to share my thoughts and my feelings in a creative and healing way. In these videos and blogs that I posted on my page, I spoke as my most candid and authentic self. From the beginning, I was not given a 100% survival rate. Typically, between 70 and 80% was what was being tossed around. For all I knew, this could be one of the last times I was going to be able to share my face and my thoughts with the entire world. So if I was going to do this, I wanted to do it right. I wanted people to know who Dana Pelz was beyond the face of this disease. It was terrifying to be that vulnerable. Posting my emotional roller coaster of a journey on social media for everyone to see was like opening the door into my brain for people to judge, criticize, and dissect my most personal thoughts. And while I always thought that showing people your vulnerability was a weakness, I was pleasantly surprised to find that it was actually quite the opposite. People gravitated towards this vulnerability. They not only accepted it, they embraced and reciprocated it. People were more outwardly compassionate, honest, and raw than they had ever been to me in my entire life. They went out of their way to support me. I remember the first bone marrow donor drive that I ran. I was in awe of the overwhelming support I received that day. I saw friends from grade school that I hadn't seen in years, friends that brought their friends and their extended families, some people I knew and some I was meeting for the first time that day. But before I knew it, I had a full community of people standing behind me and cheering me on through this journey. I was beyond grateful. I was inspired. Their support was more healing than medicine ever could be. For the first time, I realized that I wasn't fighting this battle alone. We were fighting it together. My support system was my source of unrelenting strength. They were the reason that my heart never gave up. Their undivided kindness would save my life not once, but time and time again. The most amazing thing about my journey in retrospect, aside from how cool that science actually lets you replace non-functioning bone marrow with functioning bone marrow, is that as I reflect on this period, I don't feel sad or angry that it happened, but rather I feel a stronger sense of self and a deeper sense of gratitude for having been through it. At a young age, I experienced what most people don't encounter until the end of their lifetime, facing my own mortality. I quickly learned that hardship certainly does not discriminate. For example, I was treated at a children's hospital, my 5-year-old friend Nathan. For some unfortunate reason, tragedy strikes you or one of your loved ones tomorrow, I guarantee that you'll be wishing that you were living that perfectly imperfect life that you had but just moments before. Do not wait for tragedy to appreciate. Appreciate what you have right now. Be grateful right now. My final thought that I'd like to share with you is not so much a thought, but a moment, a big moment. It was the final time that kindness saved my life, and I mean this in the most literal sense. My donor, a 24-year-old male, O-positive blood, and an 11 out of 12 HLA match. That's all I knew about him when I was going through my transplant. I didn't even have this picture. He knew equally as little about me. But what really blows my mind is that this person not only donated his time and his energy, but literally a piece of himself to save the life of a complete and total stranger, me. I am standing here today because of his ultimate act of kindness. With every heartbeat, every breath I take, it's his blood that's running through my veins. It's his act of kindness that gives me life every day. You may not think that you have the time or the resources to change the entire world, but I'm telling you that you do have the opportunity to change at least one person's world. Whether it's donating blood at a blood drive or a simple gesture in sending a thinking of you note to a friend in need. Even small actions can make a world of difference. Support those around you. Be compassionate. And remember how impactful a single act of kindness can be. Kindness saved my life. Thank you.
All right, we have a couple more things we need to do with Dana. First of all, I'm going to throw it over to her home base, which is the Target team in Minnesota. So Target team, are you there? Thank you, Target team.
Dana?
Yeah.
Dana, you are just phenomenal. There are just no words. And on behalf of all of us here, your friends on the Target team, we are grateful to have you on our team. And we are so inspired by your message. We knew a little bit about it, and now we know so much more, and we are just delighted for you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Woo!
We have one more thing to do with you. We actually have your donor here with us today, so please welcome to the stage David Doan. All right. He's coming down the middle here. We're actually going to let David talk for a couple minutes.
It's all you.
Wow. Well, this is pretty incredible. I don't really know. I had a few things to say, but now it's just like, I'd like to thank everybody who helped arrange this. Couldn't imagine a better way to meet Dana and kind of close this part of her journey. I would like to say a few words about the donation process itself and how I came to join Be the Match. I was in school at Virginia Tech. I passed to Be the Match tent, walking through our student center with a couple friends, and there was some people actively trying to get us to sign up, and we kind of looked at each other and just like, sure, why not? Let's do it. And then after that, we kind of never thought about it, and then I got a call a couple years later, 22-year-old female with severe aplastic anemia, and they asked me if I would like to donate, and I said absolutely, let's do it. And it's a pretty easy process. Doesn't hurt, I promise. Everybody thinks it's incredibly painful, but it's easy and it's incredibly worth it, I promise. So I encourage everybody to join and be the match.
Great, David, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us. You're all right to get down? Because I'm going to just close out the meeting, so thank you. I'm supposed to talk now.